And there are no treatments for this, no preventatives, no cures. They don't exist. It's not even possible to make them.
So if that happens,
we lose.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we've been infected by the Last of Us HBO series and the 10 things it did better than the game. For this list, we'll be looking at changes made to the TV series from the game that actually improved on the masterpiece it's based on. What was your favorite change made adapting the game to the screen? Let us know down in the comments. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Less is more.
Everyone thinks that it's full of infected, including Kathleen, which means that we're not going to be running into any of her people. You see, what I know is, it's empty.
You've been down there?
No, but...
While much of the video game is focused on the moment-to-moment combat encounters in between story beats, the series is much more character-focused. That doesn't mean it isn't without its moments of tension, however. The museum scene is almost beat for beat, but the fact it only has a couple clickers instead of being overrun by them and the infected makes the scene all the more realistic and terrifying. The same is also true of the infected's other major appearance in Kansas City. When the horde of infected comes pouring out of the sinkhole in an endless wave, we feel the same horror as the many characters fighting to survive. And the bloater absolutely steals the show here as well. We also rarely see Joel in direct combat save for the aforementioned Kansas City encounter and the university, which makes his rampage through the hospital that much more thrilling. Getting to know Sarah.
Connie was asking after you. Said you hadn't been over in a while. Make him happy.
I could come by after school, but just for like a little bit.
She'll take what you got.
In the opening moments of The Last of Us, we experience the start of the outbreak through the eyes of Joel's daughter Sarah and witness her remaining strong even despite the horrifying events unfolding around her. The series takes this time with Sarah further by letting us follow her throughout her entire day before the outbreak begins. We witness her more or less taking care of her father, as well as being sweet and supportive of her elderly neighbors, and even her trip to fix Joel's watch. Even knowing how things were going to end up, we'd be lying if we didn't say we were hoping to spend even more time with Sarah as the series continued, if even for just one more episode.
Joe. Come on, baby girl. Come on, baby girl. I gotta get you up. Come on. Come on, get up. Come on, baby girl.
Jackson.
Tommy!
When we first find Tommy in the game, it's pretty much by mere coincidence. In the series, however, Joel has more of an approximate location of where Tommy might be, and eventually, we, along with Joel and Ellie, are brought to Jackson, where the two have their reconciliation. However, in the game, we only briefly see the outskirts of Jackson itself, as much of our time is spent at the hydroelectric dam helping Tommy and company fend off attacking scavengers. In the series, however, we get a much better look at not only the whole community, which is almost one-to-one how Jackson is portrayed in The Last of Us Part 2, but also get a few nods to important story beats in the sequel, such as Ellie's beloved horse Shimmer, as well as what fans believe was the first unofficial meeting between Ellie and Dina.
What?
What's wrong with you?
What about her manners?
She was just curious.
Motivations.
We'll get her to your crew at the State House. But before we hand her over, they give us everything that we want. If not, we kill her, there and then. Deal?
Really? That fast?
Speaking of Tommy, along with Joel's reasons for agreeing to transport Ellie, everyone within the series seems to have much more realistic motivations driving them versus the game. Instead of wanting their guns back, Joel and Tess need a battery and working car to head out west to find Tommy, believing him to be in danger after losing contact with him. Henry and Sam aren't simply passing through, but trying to escape a coup that overthrew Fedra in Kansas City. Even new characters like Kathleen and her reasons for pursuing revenge against Henry are understandable enough that even the newly founded military group within Kansas City would follow her. We even get a better understanding of Marlene's connection to Ellie, but more on that in a bit.
You deserve a choice. I still think you'd be better off with Tommy.
Let's go.
Okay.
A broken man.
Sarah died. And I couldn't see the point anymore. Simple as that. And I wasn't scared either. I was ready.
Sarah's death was understandably a pivotal moment in Joel's life after the outbreak, and while he's still dealing with the heartbreak and trauma in the game, within the show, more than just the loss of his daughter weighs on Joel. The Joel in the series is a man in his 50s, and isn't going to be sneaking around crouched for hours on end, and even actively attempts to avoid encounters whenever possible. Even within these parameters, however, we see the stress of traveling with Ellie taking its toll as he begins to grow attached to Ellie as their journey continues, and he becomes more and more terrified of losing someone he loves all over again. This might not be the rough and tough Joel fans of the game were expecting, but it's a much more realistic portrayal of grief and loss than what would have been possible in the game.
Lately, there are these moments where the fear comes up out of nowhere, and my heart feels like it stopped.
Ellie's naivety.
It's your first time in a car?
It's like a spaceship.
Ellie within the game is surprisingly well versed in the ways of the world for someone who has spent their entire life within the QZ city limits. She's familiar with not only horse riding, but also somehow able to pop a clutch and drive a vehicle with little to no explanation of this experience. Ellie within the show, however, is far more naive, being amazed by not only being in a car for the first time, but also adorably being excited about an escalator within the mall her and Riley are exploring. The Ellie we come to know in the series is also much more affected by her first time shooting someone, whereas Ellie within the game is all too eager to pick up a gun and follow Joel, slaughtering anyone who gets in their way.
I shot the hell out of that guy, huh?
Yeah, you sure did.
David Unhinged.
You're quite a hunter. We didn't even hear you coming.
Turn around and walk away.
Okay.
Just go.
Okay, all I ask is 10 seconds of your time. I just want to
I
talk.
won't say it twice.
Please, just 10 seconds.
In the game, David ended up being worse than any of the other scavengers Joel and Ellie had encountered throughout their time together. Manipulative and unsettling, David lured Ellie into a false sense of security before completely flipping the script and attempting to carve her up for his cannibalistic cult. David within the HBO series is arguably more disturbing, however. Not only is he still the deeply unnerving character gamers are familiar with, but now he's the leader of a small community full of families who look to him for guidance while he feeds them human meat without their knowledge. His intentions with Ellie are also far more disturbing than within the game. While it's alluded to in-game, in the series, David makes no reservations about his courtship with the underage Ellie, and his constant taunts as he hunts her throughout the burning restaurant make this even more apparent.
No one likes being humiliated, Ellie. You don't know how good I am! You don't know what I could have given you!
Bill's best life.
I had somebody that I cared about. A partner. Somebody I had to look after.
From the moment we meet Bill in the game, he immediately struck us as a tragic character. Someone who had been on their own, living within their own paranoia of the infection for far too long, even talking to himself on more than one occasion. Bill had a partner named Frank, but he had since attempted to leave and was infected for his efforts. When we first meet Bill in the series, he's very much the same paranoid survivalist. But this time, we get to witness his first meeting with Frank, and not only their budding romance over the 20-ish years since the start of the outbreak, but also their time together, all the way to their Shakespearean end. After witnessing what could have been the worst possible version of Bill, it was heartwarming to see someone who had been prepping for the worst for so long find the happiness he never knew was possible.
Look. I was never afraid before you showed up.
Fungal Beginnings.
Jadi apa yang harus kami lakukan?
bomb.
Over the course of the game, we're given hints as to where and how the outbreak began, but most everything that players knew about the infection was mostly speculation. The HBO series, however, makes it very clear not only where the outbreak began, but also how it spread across the world so quickly, and even eventually precisely how Ellie's immunity could be used to create a cure to end the spread of the fungus. We open the series with a couple of scientists discussing the various possibilities of how an infection could bring about the end of the world, as well as a look at where it all began in Jakarta, and our best look at this new mutation of the cordyceps and its disturbing tendrils. This new variation also affects the way the infected behave, giving them more of a hive mind, making the cordyceps feel more alive than the clusters of spores in the game. Ellie's immunity.
No, I'm not sick.
Don't!
I'm not sick.
Don't!
I'm not sick. Look. This is 3 weeks old. Nobody lasts more than a day.
During the events of the Last of Us game, Ellie's immunity is the reason Joel is bringing her to the Fireflies on the West Coast, and the driving force for most of the characters within they encounter. This is still true within the series as well, but for the first time, we not only get to meet Ellie's mother Anna, but also witness how her immunity began in the first place. Fans of the game also get a much deeper understanding of Marlene's connection to Ellie through the series. We had always known that Marlene knew Ellie's mom, but we didn't know to what extent, in addition to what led to her death. The process of creating a vaccine is also much more fleshed out within the series, and provides a better explanation for not only how Ellie's immunity works, but also how it could be used to save what remains of humanity.
Swear to me that everything you said about the Fireflies is true.
I swear.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.